Welcome to this week's Science Summary News. Let's get right into it. First topic, right from SpaceX. Well, not really directly related to SpaceX, but anyways. Nuclear power is going portable in the form of relatively lightweight, cost-effective microreactors. So last year, a team secured $1.2 million in funding from investors to start up Radiant. This is to develop a portable microreactor, which are aimed at both commercial and military applications. So, doing the research into microreactors for Mars, they saw an opportunity to develop a flexible, affordable power source here on Earth, leading the team to find Radiant, which was joined by two other SpaceX engineers. So Radiant announced last year that they received 2 patents for its portable nuclear reactor technology. Radiant has signed a contract with Battle Energy Alliance to test its portable microreactor technology in Idaho National Lab. Not only is the portable microreactor better for the environment, but it's also more practical. It doesn't rely on constant supply of fuel. Instead, the clean fuel used by Radiant's microreactors can last for more than 4 years. If this initial testing goes well, nuclear power might soon hit the road, and it might power countless remote communities. This could also be good for the energy demands on Mars, as it requires a less constant supply of fuel. Next is related to energy, and we go to batteries. So recycling to recover those valuable metals in batteries and minimizing the social environmental impact of mining could keep millions of tons of batteries from landfills and cut the energy use and emissions used to create new batteries. So while the EV battery recycling industry is just starting to take off, getting car makers to use recycled materials remains still a hard task. A study by Wang and a team of researchers show that battery and car makers need not worry. They show that recycled cathodes can be good as or even better than new state-of-the-art material. How does this all happen? Well, EV batteries are complex, and the most common flavor of cathodes are NMC11 cathodes, containing a third of nickel, magnesium, and cobalt. Their technology involves shredding the batteries, removing the steel casing and aluminum, coppers, and plastics, and the pouch materials for recycling. The remaining black mass is dissolved in a solvent, and graphite, carbon, and impurities are filtered out. Using a patented chemical technique, the nickel, magnesium, and cobalt, all which are very important to create batteries and rely heavily on very environmentally impacting mining, are mixed into desired ratios to make the cathode powders. This is really great. As EVs are taking off, we need to find a way to effectively recycle the batteries and any waste that they produce. This is a step in the right direction, and I hope more EV manufacturers, Tesla, Ford, Porsche, Rivian, all start making and advertising, not really advertising, but making plans to recycle the batteries. Continuing on with our energy talk, the United States could generate 4.2 petawatts of energy right from half of the rooftops with 20% efficiency solar panels. So, a research found that there is usable roof space to deploy any amount of solar equal to its current nationwide generation levels. According to a recent research on global solar panels, the researchers said that this could result in production of 27 petawatts of energy, or 27 million gigawatts of power. If completely covered by photovoltaic cells. So, the authors of the paper said that they're going to mitigate factors in the potential PV outlook, including constraints around transmission and the need for storage due to the intermittent generation cycles of solar energy. Sun goes down, we can't always have solar panels. This high potential for rooftop solar may come as good news for American rent payers, as it might put savings back in their pockets. Recently, it is estimated that local solar and all the collective $109 billion in utility bill payments could be avoided by 2030 if rooftop solar were up to scale 2 to 4 times faster versus all utility scale solar deployment. The ability to power your house right from your roof, as well as savings, is tremendous and benefits the environment. It's a win-win-win. We just need more push for solar and storage of power in a safe manner. Alright, that's enough for energy for this week. Let's talk about animals. Unfortunately, this week we have some depressing news. Female elephants evolved toward being tuskless over the last few decades as poachers sought after the ivory. So why did this happen? Or how was this figured out? Well, after comparing current populations to historical video footage, the number of tuskless females had increased dramatically over the last 3 decades. Between 1977 and 2004, the proportion of females that lacked tusk jumped from 18.5% to 33%. Why did this happen? Well, it's because Mozambique entered a bloody civil war in 1977, and armies on both sides killed elephants for the ivory to fund and finance the war. What did this do? Well, by 1922, the elephant population in Mozambique had declined by 90%, and the frequency of tusked females, in part, almost tripled, to where almost 1 in every 2 females was tuskless. Now, tusks are very important to elephants, and the loss of this creates a ripple throughout the entire ecosystem. The tusks are a multi-purpose tool, and they strip bark from trees, dig up valuable minerals, or uncover water sources. If you don't have tusks, you're no longer pushing over trees or finding water. And this is just an example of how human activity is changing the evolution trajectory of species across the tree life. Now on to better news. This for marine. It's amazing that the fish ecosystem that is growing around these turbines, said an environment technical advisor. Dominion leased area of roughly size of 85,000 football fields. There are 2 pilot turbines, but the company aims to build 180 more as commercial wind farm by 2026. This started last October. The change in marine life was dramatic, said the environmentalist. Mussels, algae, sea bass, and bait fish circle the structure or set up shop directly on it. It's not just the outside of the foundation. There are holes in the foundation of the turbine to release pressure and allow water to flow through. This also let marine life pass through it. However, this is kind of a double-edged sword, as the vibration from the turbines can go down into the water and foundation of the ocean and disrupt life. Also, setting up the wind turbines destroys the environment and local species around, but the company has mostly documented that seabirds in the area so far have changed their patterns. The most environmental concerns are about the red knots and piping plovers, which the biologist said the company hasn't seen them. Acoustic microphones and video monitoring on the turbines are also supposed to help capture bird activity and bat activity. So, while wind turbines are proving to be beneficial especially offshore. The initial destruction of marine life might not be as bad as the marine life comes back and returns after the construction phase. The loud noises and vibration do drive away marine life and can be harmful, but the return of mussels, algae, and other fish is very important, especially mussels, as they require a hard surface. Next, on to SpaceX igniting their new engine on Starship without an explosion this time. So this Thursday, SpaceX took to validating their rocket engine technology by powering up his Starship rocket for the first time. Engineers at the company ignited a vacuum version of the Raptor rocket engine that had to be attached to the upper stage of the Starship. So rocket engines have many parts, and the largest and most prominent is the nozzle, which channels the flow of exhaust gas. Faster gas coming out of the rocket engine is good because it means more thrust. And more thrust means that your rocket can lift more mass. This is a phenomenon known as flow separation, which happens when the flow of gas inside the engine separates from the nozzle walls. The most common way to address this issue is to design a rocket's first stage with engines optimized at sea level and the upper stage optimized for vacuum optimized engines. The Falcon 9 does this. For example, the first stage with 9 Merlin engines with smaller nozzles that do the work in lower atmosphere, and on top a Merlin vacuum engine that has a much larger nozzle for outer space. This is very exciting if you love space, as we're getting closer and closer. Here's a little video. Amazing. All right, second to last topic, air pollution. So, air quality concerns have been increasing as time has progressed. So the finding of this study was that switching to cleaner school buses could result in 14 million fewer absences each year. The researchers at the University of Washington, Michigan did not examine electric bus, which produce less local pollution than those using fossil fuels, but an associate professor of epidemiology at the University of Michigan School of Public Health said that the older diesel buses result in kids in Seattle area intaking more air pollution, and these pollutants that the kids were experiencing also did seem to be linked to worsened health. And of course, an executive director of diesel technology had to say something. They said, some may find electric buses to be a good fit, while others may stick to diesel and utilize low-carbon renewable fuels to cut their carbon footprint. Obviously, coming from a diesel perspective, this is very biased. And advocates pointed out that nearly half of the diesel buses are older ones that produce dangerous pollutants and are more expensive to maintain. Many districts are eyeing the funding in several bills in Congress. The nearly $1 trillion infrastructure bill includes $5 billion for electric and hybrid school buses. Some states, including Florida and Virginia, are buying electric buses with billions of dollars from the Volkswagen settlement of its diesel emissions cheating scandal. So, electric school buses are not only beneficial for the environment, but also for the kids, people around the school, the bus drivers, as there's less pollution that is harmful to them. Pollutants are very harmful and can cause children to miss out on school days, as well as have detrimental impacts later in life. Lastly, I want you to see this video of a robotic arm. So this robotic arm can pick up a dumbbell. We don't know the exact weight of the maximum payload that it can carry, but it can move individual fingers and have the ability to turn and twist the hand. Now we see it picking up a dumbbell. Anyway, that concludes this week's science summary. I hope you learned something and I hope you enjoyed. Come back next week for another summary. Take care.